This is going to be probably the biggest news week, maybe in Tesla history. It's already started. The stock is already up so much this morning that Brian is contemplating increasing his opportunity in his retirement 27 or 29 years from now.
That's, I suppose, true. Yes. Yeah.
Haven't you made like millions this morning? I mean, it's up 23 points or something.
So that's yeah, that's enough to buy a couple of FSD suites is what that is.
There you go. Absolutely. That's how much. You only have 12 shares after all. I thought you had more.
Oh, I have over 1,000 shares.
Nice.
Yeah, it's all in my IRA though. So I am the poorest rich person you'll ever meet, or the richest poor person. It feels the same either way.
One of those two. Well, Brian, it's lovely to have you back. You're Brian White.
I am. That is correct.
That's correct. As opposed to Brian Wang. And we've used that joke 17 times now, but it never ceases to make people laugh. So I thought I'd try it one more time. And then I'm Randy Kirk, and everybody out there should like and subscribe and follow Brian at My Tesla Weekend every place, all around town. If you put in My Tesla Weekend, you'll generally find him no matter what you're searching for.
And here's a bit of breaking news. People don't know this. In a matter of hours, about 14-ish, I'm leaving for the airport. I'm going to the Detroit Auto Show because last week we got the big news. Tesla's going to be there, and I booked it and I scheduled it and I got everything lined up, and then we found out they're not.
Or are they?
Or are they?
Because so far the rumor that the things that I'm hearing are they might be still doing the drive around.
That is what I've heard.
They might be doing where they let people actually drive the car. That's the second. There's two different things. I guess there's an infield and an outfield. I don't know.
Right.
And then there's going to be a surprise, according to the Detroit Auto Show people. There's going to be a surprise.
The surprise is not Tesla specific. It is a auto show surprise.
Yes,
and we don't know if that would be at press day, which is when I'm going to be there.
I see. I was thinking maybe the surprise would be that the United Auto Workers would be surrounding the building and not letting anybody in.
Maybe that's possible.
That's
entirely possible.
So, yeah, well, it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a great week for news. I mean, for guys like you and me that need to create content, it all is going to create itself this week. There's no doubt about that.
Last week was a bunch of big news while I was out of town. So I'm going to be talking about it for the first time on YouTube right here on your channel, Randy.
That's right. That's what I hear. So you were in Vancouver last weekend, which I used to consider to be one of the cutest, most fun towns to visit ever. Has it changed?
It's still beautiful. It's much taller. The food is exceptional. We went to a little place called Happy Noodle. Everything we ordered 3 dishes. All 3 were absolutely amazing. And if you don't mind some errant sidewalk poo, it's a beautiful city.
Some errant sidewalk. So in other words, we do have some vagrancy or some people there that have not homes.
Yes. It's very challenging.
I see. Even in beautiful Vancouver, I used to think Toronto is one of the most beautiful cities on the planet. And the last time I was there, they actually had the beginnings of graffiti, and I was shocked and surprised. Yeah. Anyway, so then what did you learn? You must have learned something because it was, after all, your Tesla weekend.
It was my Tesla weekend. What I learned is people like our shows, Randy. I met a number of people who were excited to see me, of course, which was exciting. My channel keeps getting bigger. People are actually recognizing that I'm a person and that I know some things. But people were excited about our shows, which very much surprised me because, I mean, look at it. But what I learned is the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, with all of its U.S. and North America preferred trading partners, has taken a real bite out of shows like this. The Fully Charged show in San Diego has been canceled, in large part because none of the Chinese manufacturers want to participate in a show in a market in which they can't essentially sell cars. So maybe in a couple of years, when they start opening North American factories, that will happen. Now, this has been a huge boon to U.S. manufacturing and to U.S. automakers. But for China, they're saying, nope, we're going to go where they actually want our money, our presence, our cars, all of that. And I did get to see some truly interesting cars, the BMW iX. I've got a video coming out about that. Amazing vehicle if you have an awful lot of money,
An
which
awful
some
lot.
people do. An
An
awful
awful
lot, which some people do, which some
Yes.
people do.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting. But there are a lot of EVs that are coming out that are great. And at these shows, you get to see a lot of more aspirational companies than you would necessarily ever encounter in real life.
And I'm always kind of curious, and I don't know whether my audience cares at all, but I'm always kind of curious to know on the charging side, were there any new news in terms of charging speeds, charging styles, charging stuff?
There was one that was very exciting, a company called On the Run. It's like a convenience store. They own a bunch of gas stations across Canada and in the US, but they're not brand specific. So in one province, they might be Chevron, in another, it might be something else. But their business is selling just enough fuel to get you in the store.
Yeah.
And they don't care if it's gas or electric. They've already got 33 locations with chargers, and they're rolling them out progressively, as quick as they can and as reasonably as they can. Right now, they're all CCS and CHAdeMO because Tesla drivers don't need what they've got. And they've got, and in terms of uptime, unlike Electrify America, they are all in. They're committed. They have the chargers have to work, or we don't have customers. So they're not a compliance company. They're not doing it for the love of the game. They're doing it because they need customers and they know what the future is. And I did ask them about the changeover to the North American charging standard. That will be introduced slowly as it makes sense. And the biggest thing is all of the charge things, they're brought in modular like Tesla does, but individual units instead. And they're all designed and built by one company. And so if there is a problem, that company can look at that part and diagnose it, unlike what Electrify America has done, which is a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, very interesting. So that was your Tesla weekend that you spent in Vancouver. While you were gone, the news
While I was gone,
the news was just bursting forth every single day. But one piece of news I haven't been able to find, and I'm hoping that you've learned something about this, is whether the Highland is selling or not.
the Highland has been spotted shipping out from Shanghai. And we knew it was shipping out. Somebody had caught a truckload of them headed towards the port. So drone pilot Wuwa went out and did a flight and found hundreds and hundreds of them ready for shipping out by sea, presumably to Europe, because that's the only place you can order them at the moment. We don't know if we're talking hundreds, if we're talking thousands, because it's very easy to just not look one day and miss 5,000 going out. So deliveries are underway.
But do you find it odd that we had one rumor last week? You might have even been the one that put up the rumor. I can't remember, on X, that somebody said maybe they had sold 60,000 in the first couple of days, and then there was another rumor that was 90,000 in the first few days. But there's no even rumors now as to how these are selling. They've got to be selling some. They got to be selling.
So no customer deliveries have taken place yet, which would make sense because it takes about a month to get them port to port, including the logistics at each end. So I'm expecting to see some deliveries starting before the end of the quarter, maybe, but we don't know the numbers. The numbers were all divined by trying to work the math in terms of wait times, and that's a very, very inexact science because the wait times shift when we don't know what the production rate is. Yeah. So it could be that it was only 5,000 or 10,000 and they just didn't have the production to match it. But in any case, we can see the enthusiasm is extremely high. People are very excited to get their hands on it. It is barely more expensive for a much newer, cooler car.
There was also some, again, it was more than a rumor. It seemed like it was coming from a really reliable source that the number of units per week was going to be, starting today, was going to be pretty substantial when you consider that it was, barely in the ramp. Did you see those numbers? Were they correct? Do you think they're right? What do you think?
So I haven't seen the numbers, but I believe they are correct because we've seen the production delivery numbers, the CPCA, China Passenger Car Association numbers, and uh, we're still having big month after big month, even though we know that part of the line was one line at least was down for retooling. My theory that they would take the lines down individually appears to be true because they're still making performance on the original chassis rather than the three fresh, and they're doing it right, and they're doing it in Shanghai because that factory has proven their ability to move quickly and get the job done right. And who ran Tesla China? Tom Zhu, who now runs the US operations. So that gives us at least some confidence that when the changeover happens soon in Fremont, it should happen, hopefully about as smoothly. It won't because it's an older factory and nothing goes smoothly at Fremont, but it will go better than it would have, I think, under someone else's leadership.
So the China numbers did come out this morning, and thank you to Sawyer Merritt, and they came out at 84,000 when you combine domestic and shipped out for export. 84,000 keeps them at the million run rate that they were last month. That's pretty good news.
People were saying this factory would never produce cars, and then they said, well, maybe 100,000 or 200,000 a year. $1 million a year from one location is substantial. And especially when you look at the fact that this is the smallest property they own, apart from Gig in New York, it is very, very impressive what they've done. And if they add another location, that'll be a big deal. If they add, even when they just get this line back up, we expect to see the numbers increase slightly over time. They always do.
Well, so the reason that the stock is up today might have something to do with those China numbers, because it had gone up about 15, 16, and then all of a sudden there was this another bump where it went up to 22. And that came at a radical moment. I'm wondering, what do you think? Do you think it's all about the Morgan Stanley numbers out this morning? Do you think it's partially due to China? Do you think it's a combination? Do you think that the street finally believes that Elon Musk's statement that this is an AI company that is specializing in robotics? Do you think the street got it this morning? They're like, okay, we get it.
So there's a channel called Hit That Bid with a host named Yashu, and it's a very fun channel, and all he covers really is stocks and trading. And I got a chance to meet him this weekend because he's in Vancouver. He was telling me that among mega caps, Tesla moves uniquely. It's much more volatile than any other mega cap. And I think the reason for that could be in part because the float is very small relative to its size. People like you and I are not going to trade. We just don't do it.
Right.
And the S&P funds, those really don't trade in and out more than maybe once a quarter. And they only do it for rebalancing. They're not trying to game the system or time the market. So I think relative to its size, the float is small, which leads to extra volatility. The Morgan upgrade, I don't know how much impact that will have. I don't think it's the right call. I mean, I agree that the price target is higher. My price target is higher than it is today, of course, obviously. But they're saying it's the new AI. It's going to be, I don't care how smart your analysts are, and I'm confident they have smart analysts, and I'm just barely confident because I've seen their analysts on the automotive side. But even if their analysts are the best in the world, I just think it's too early to predict the winners. This is like a marble race, and just we're 10 seconds in and I'm going all in on the little green swirly fella. I just don't know that it can be known this early.
Yeah, well, so the other side of that same coin is when you are an investor, if you have a risk orientation at all, and you're an investor, if you're not a risk guy, no, but if you're a risk guy at all, you don't want to miss the next Chat GPT. You don't want to miss the next, major, NVIDIA situation. If you think that this isn't going to be another one of those, you want to get your feet get something going there, because it looks bad, especially an institutional investor or somebody that's got a fund. It looks bad if you weren't in that stock. So I would have to think there's got to be at least some of that going on as a result of taking a look at a paper that evidently they put some real work into.
And I'm not saying that Tesla doesn't have an AI advantage. I'm saying I definitely don't know. And I'm saying that a lot of the people, if you asked them a year ago who the leaders would be today, I think they would have guessed wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And even 6 months ago, otherwise NVIDIA would have climbed sooner. But it's tough to say. Remember, during the gold rush, who got rich? Was it the gold prospectors or was it the guy selling shovels? NVIDIA is the guy selling shovels. No matter who wins, they win.
That's right.
So, yeah. And I would say also on the stock going up today, it's nothing but good news. They were out at the EV Expo in Seattle. Tesla had an official booth, a little, a nice little pop-up with cars on display. We've got the auto show coming up, which they will be at in at least some capacity. We've got a Cybertruck event upcoming, and I might know when that, I might know when that is, but I'm not going to say it out loud. I will tell you after the camera is off. Because Randy, I have sources.
I know you have sources, and if you gave it away, your source would be exposed.
No, not on this one, but it's too valuable. I gotta figure out how best to. So and then and it's just been a generally good news day with no bad news. So maybe that's enough to bump it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, last subject, and I was going to break this into two. And so, some of the folks that watch my channel, think that, sometimes I go long, but when I have somebody as eloquent as you and knowledgeable as you, I think it's okay. I think they'll stick around. So we'll see. Let's throw one more subject out there. So we've got this book, this Isaacson book, and I would be, I got to tell you, as I listened to the entire interview that Lex Friedman did with Isaacson, it's a fantastic, fun interview. There's not a lot new in it. It's not already kind of out there if you're really paying attention, but it was still, he's a very, very good interview. And of course, Friedman's a good interviewer. Anyway, yeah, duh. Anyway, I have to admit to identifying with so much of this stuff as an entrepreneur, and people don't get entrepreneurs. And he talks about drama. Did you read the part about the drama yet? That Elon's a drama queen.
Well, first of all, that sounds very unlike the Elon Musk I've seen.
So I wonder, I don't know if any of my family call me a drama queen, but I am always excited about what I'm doing. I'm always interested and enthusiastic about what I'm doing. So maybe that comes across as trying to get attention as opposed to just wanting to share the good news.
I think we know his level of enthusiasm is quite literally out of this world. His ambitions are, without exaggeration, out of this world. And he's going to, if you look at where the space race is at today and compare it to where it would be without him, we'd be reliant on ULA. They'd be charging so much that satellites couldn't launch. New communication systems would all still be ground-based and not rolling out. And then even if you look at today, Secretary Granholm did a road trip with NPR reporters, and the conclusion was road tripping in anything but a Tesla is a real bear. And
I don't think that's what she said, though.
Well, that was the conclusion in the article. Was the author actually said road tripping in a non-Tesla EV is very difficult. If it wasn't for Tesla, first of all, those other EVs wouldn't be as far along as they are.
No,
they've been pushed forward by Tesla, and people wouldn't know that a charging network can be good. They would just think, boy, all charging networks suck. Yeah, maybe they got it to work in Europe, but they also got mass transit to work. So we're just going to keep chugging diesel. So Tesla is, I'm enthusiastic and I'm just an observer. So I can't imagine the amount of enthusiasm he gets and the drama. Sure. The excerpt about Bill Gates and saying, why are you betting against me? He's like, well, because I could make some fast cash. I thought batteries would be oversupplied. Bill, you're so dumb. You think people need a paper clip to write a letter. Come on. So I would be, and Bill says, well, and he's kind of a jerk to a lot of people. So you kind of have to take it. Not a lot of people, just a very select group who kind of deserve it. And you're actively rooting for the failure of a company that's doing so much to improve lives.
In a very category that you claim to be very, very interested in. Someone did say today that he is competing with Elon because he's Elon is all about nuclear. He says we should do nuclear. I think Elon would even be in favor of the kind of nuclear that Gates is talking about. But Gates would have a dog in the hunt with regard to hoping that solar is not the answer. And he stated that as well, that he didn't think solar was going to be the answer.
And I think, fortunately, Elon does support nuclear. He says we're going to need it for baseload. Definitely don't decommission, but anything that's in the works, by all means, continue working on. And people who think Elon's anti-nuclear or that I'm anti-nuclear, I'm not against it. In the only part I don't like is that it costs too much and it takes too long, and we need today's solutions. And if the situation is that if the line that you're repeating happens to be the one that the oil companies are pushing to stall activity on renewables for some future promise, you have to step back and rethink your approach. Nuclear is expensive. We get it. Hopefully, Bill Gates is smart enough to understand that solar can complement nuclear, that wind can complement it, and that it doesn't have to be an either or. And if you look at the funding in some of these spending bills, it's not either or. Money is available for both. Nuclear has enjoyed trillions in subsidies over the last 70 years, and it has accomplished some feats that can't be accomplished any other way. Look at the nuclear batteries on deep space satellite exploration. It is something that you could not do any other way. There's no solar power once you get much past Jupiter. It's just not enough photons hitting the panel. But that doesn't mean it's not an either or. So I can understand the drama.
Okay. Well, okay. So I said that was going to be the final segment, and I forgot we have breaking news.
Oh, no, you didn't forget. You forgot to tease tomorrow's show.
That's what I should have done.
Mm-hmm.
Only I'd listened to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I figured that's what you were doing.
The thing that I almost failed to bring up is that you believe that the breaking news of last week about Austin being where the Gen 3 will be built is in fact fallacious.
That is absolutely my
to this conclusion.
Well, are we doing that on a we can do it now if you want, but I've got an awful lot to say about this. I will give the teaser for you because I do believe this is too big of a topic to get into right now.
We can do a second show.
So, right. but I will tell you the summary is there are too many reasons that a compact needs to be built outside of the US. And there is insufficient evidence of the space needed to build it in Texas. And the evidence I've seen that says the equipment is there doesn't add up because it's a year too early at best. So I will go into all of that and so much more with my good friend Randy Kirk whenever he decides to schedule it.
Okay, so it will be scheduled probably for tomorrow midday. That would be Tuesday midday. So hit the notify because you'll want to be notified because this is breaking and exclusive news.
Mm-hmm.
Brian?
Mm-hmm. I haven't had time to put it on my channel. And Randy said, this is too big. Don't you want it on your channel? And I said, I got to get flying out to Detroit. So my friend, I shall share it with you.
An exclusive. Absolutely, Brian. Well, hey, thank you so much, Brian. This has been great having you on as always. And I do have to mention my little Cybertruck because this is how I'm making, enough money to actually pay my rent this month, my mortgage. Those of you out there, you already know what it is. You know what to do. You just have to remember to do it. It'll be down in this instructions below. You can get your cute little Cybertruck for only $25. Brian says he thinks it's way, way underpriced.
I showed it to my kids and my wife, and I said, guess how much this was, and I think the lowest number they guessed was 45. And I didn't know yet. I'm like, let me look it up. Oh my gosh, it's 25. And it's very heavy, it's very thick. It is the thickness of the Cybertruck skin, so you can have a visual example in your hand. And Randy isn't even paying me to plug it. I just happened to get one at the California takeover because they're that cool.
Yes. All right. Well, there you go. See? All right, Brian, thanks again. And we will see you on the other side. And it's been great talking to all of you.